Jeffrey is a blue pillar. He's watching the mainstream media talk about fake news. Fake news should be illegal. But who decides what's fake? Well, the government, of course. Jeffrey is a moron. He has no idea what's going on around him. Adonis sees Jeffrey consuming mainstream media like a child with a lollipop. Adonis realizes that the government often labels the opposition as fake news just to get rid of them. Adonis is a true G. So I remember going to college, for the first time in my life. And I remember thinking, yeah, I'm finally gonna learn about the world. I'm finally gonna learn how the world really works. So I learned all about, the refugee crisis, poor people, rich people. And I had all these strong opinions about these problems, I thought I had a solution to all of them. So whenever we were in class and a teacher would talk about these certain subjects, I would actually preach for more government control to the teacher. Yeah, we should just have more government control. We should just take all the money from the rich and then give it to the poor. Oh my god, like a true blue pillar, I was propagating for more government control. So more government control is an interesting theme here, and it's part of the reason why the video is titled Fake News Should Be Illegal. So Let's talk about fake news. So there's a lot of talk about fake news, especially in the last few years with COVID and the new war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East. You constantly hear about fake news from the mainstream media. Oh, that source is fake. That source is fake. Like Donald Trump, right? You are fake news. You are fake news. Some people even say that fake news should be illegal. We should have more government control that actually controls all the fake news. Fucking retarded, actually. And let me explain to you why this is totally unrealistic. It might be very, very beautiful in your eyes right now, but it's totally unrealistic. There is no such thing as independent mainstream media, right? You would think that all these mainstream media companies are actually independent from the government, so that they can all basically talk about their own agendas, but that's not actually the case. Mainstream media is often controlled by the government. This might seem very radical to you, but it's not directly controlled, so the government doesn't own these mainstream media companies, but they have close ties, because these mainstream media companies, the way they operate is that they get certain subsidies from the government. They get certain gifts of money they get money from advertising companies. And that's basically the main way they basically get money. They also sell some kind of a subscription, but that's not the main way. So that's why they can only report on a very specific agenda, because if they wouldn't report on that agenda, if they would actually report against the agenda of the government, because let's say the government has a specific viewpoint about something, right? And the mainstream media actually reports on a different viewpoint. They basically say that the viewpoint of the government is false or something like this. They would actually have a high chance of losing their subsidies from the government. They would have a high chance of losing the subsidies, the money from these advertising companies, because that mainstream media companies is actually contradicting the government. So that's why they have a sort of self-censorship. These mainstream media companies do a sort of self-censorship. So they basically censor themselves by not pursuing certain viewpoints, not portraying certain stories, and all these things, so that they stay in line with the government story. So there is a very specific culture growing here, a culture of self-censorship where we have no real mainstream media companies anymore. Back in the days, mainstream media companies used to be very, very good. And they would dive very deep into a story. They would actually portray different viewpoints. But today there is only one voice. Because if they wouldn't only portray one voice, they would risk losing their subsidies, or they would be stampled, they would be called out as fake news agencies. And that's what really happens. So This is the reason why fake news cannot be illegal. Why fake news cannot be illegal. So the government or these mainstream media outlets just label any opposition as fake news. So if you are a mainstream media agency that's actually like trying to uncover the real truth, trying to portray different viewpoints, you are actually often labeled as fake news by the government or other mainstream media agencies. These mainstream media agencies will actually tell the public that you are a fake news agency. They shouldn't listen to you. So anybody who listens to you as a fake news agency is basically a conspiracy theorist. So if, let's say, you are listening to that fake news media outlet, right? And you actually talk to friends about this news, your friends would actually tell you that you are fake news. They would actually tell you that your story is not true. Like, this whole culture, this whole system is fucking strong, and all the mainstream media companies comply. Nobody wants to step out of line. Nobody wants to be stempeled as a fake news outlet, right? So they don't want an opposite opinion. They all want the same opinion, because if there's an opposite opinion, they would basically censor you. They would call you out for a fake news agency. There's only room for one voice, one opinion. You should really read the book 1984 because it's fucking awesome. It really, it's really similar to this story I'm telling you right now, and it's one of the best books I've read so far. It's about a dystopian society. So 1984 by George Orwell. So my question here is, aren't we supposed to be a democracy? Because I remember that 10 years ago there was this voice calling out for free speech. We should all have free speech. Everybody should be able to tell what they want. But today, people are screaming at the government that fake news should be illegal. And fake news, let's be honest, is just another opinion. They are just different opinions. So everybody should be able to express their opinion. I am still today open of freedom of speech. I think it's a great thing, even if that free speech is like very radical. Everybody should have free speech, and we decide if you want to follow it or not, right? There is no room for only one voice. So these mainstream media agencies, they don't care about the truth. You might think that your mainstream media cares about uncovering the truth, but that's not the case. They just care about following the government agenda, and the government agenda has often specific plans. For example, in Ukraine, they have specific plans with money. They have specific plans, so they want to make you do specific things. They don't really care about, uncovering the truth. You think they do, but they don't. And let's be honest, so many people are lost. So many blue pillars who totally believe in the mainstream media, watch the mainstream media and the government every day, are totally lost. They're stuck in the matrix, They imagine yourself being, 5 years ago, being in the matrix. You believe everything they say, you do everything they do. If they tell you to be afraid, you are afraid. It's fucking deep, and if you actually see that we as a movement are finally getting out of this is a great thing, in my opinion. Let's ask ourselves a question here, because let's go into the root of fake news should be illegal, okay? There should be more control to basically make fake news illegal, right? But who is going to control that? Who is gonna be the agency who controls what is fake and what is not fake? Are we gonna hire 500 fact checkers to fact check every story? It's fucking impossible. It's fucking impossible to fact check everything. If you wanna fact check everything, you are a debunker. It's like the meme, right? The 35-year-old debunker. I have actually got a video on that as well. It's quite funny. So, and how are you gonna make sure that this independent agency, which is basically controlling the fake news, is staying uninfluenced? Because I can guarantee you that this agency is gonna be influenced by something, by someone, or it's just going to be part of the regular government, and they will just say, yeah, this is a very trustable agency which is actually controlling all the news, but it's actually not. This independent agency is actually just following the government rules, the government viewpoint. And if you're not fully convinced by this right now, I highly recommend you discovering how the world really works. Just read a few books about it. Maybe follow some YouTubers who actually are very good in this. I would say that Jake Tran is a very good one. Moon is also a good one, who they uncover basically scams of humanity to keep you in slavery, a bit like I do, right? But I think this whole movement of guys who basically wake up out of the matrix, out of that blue-pilled mindset is so great. We as Spartans finally discover the truth, so we don't step in the same traps as all those blue-pilled Spartans. Prepare for glory.